Welcome to Cocktail Hour. I'm Andy.
And I'm the Rev.
Welcome to episode 21, Rev.
Yay, 21.
I know, yay.
Did
And
you ever notice I start out with the same thing every show? Yay.
Well, I used to start, I used to end with the same thing all the time. So, what the hell? It'll change up as we keep going on. So we're both enjoying a sweet, tight pussy today.
Did you pick that specifically because you know it tortures me?
No. But it's a nice little, side benefit.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
One of my Facebook buddies suggested this one, and I looked it up on Drinks Mixer, I think it is. And I was like, oh, first of all, I like the title of it because it's great. And then I looked at the ingredients and I went, okay, I like peach schnapps, I like pineapple, I haven't had Midori, but I like melon, and 7-Up is fabulous, so it's got to be a good drink. And I started my first one probably about 25 minutes ago or so. And I got to tell you, though, it's going to take a lot of drinks to get any kind of snap-on going on.
Yeah, I just took my first sip, and the color is a little off-putting. We were just talking about the Incredible Hulk, and a possible different name for the drink, but
well, it's like Gatorade. That's what it looks like.
It looks like what?
It looks like Gatorade.
I guess kind of. It's got like this kind of lime green thing going.
Yeah,
kind of. But it's very peachy.
Yes, it does. It does have a lot of peach aftertaste to it.
Yeah, and I don't really understand what the purpose of the soda was, because at half an ounce, I mean, there's like no bubbles or anything in there, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
just probably to maybe to level it out a little bit, like blend the flavors,
maybe.
Level it out. Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, it's refreshing, and I like it. It's not nearly as sweet as I thought it was going to be. Yeah. I think this one's a hit. I'm
going to try on my third drink, because I actually pre-mixed one. On my third drink, I think I'm going to put maybe an ounce of vodka in it and see how that changes it up.
Just plain vodka?
Yeah, just plain old vodka. You can't go wrong with Grey Goose. Come on now.
No, I was just thinking maybe a citrus vodka might. Do you think that might push it too far?
You could try it. It'd be interesting to see what the difference would be.
Gosh, I feel like such an aficionado now.
Yeah, too bad you can't say the word.
Whatever, shut up. I can say that word. Shut up. Or is it? That's 2 words. I can say them both.
Oh, wow. I'll tell you what.
All right, then. So the sweet tight pussy is a very good drink. We like it very much.
Yes, we do. Nice. Although one of our Twitter friends, Debbie Russell, had suggested a ladyfinger. And I thought, oh, yeah, okay, I like the name of it. And it had, what the hell is it called? Kirschwasser?
Yeah.
Which is, I think, German-type liqueur?
Let's ask our guest. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't heard of it, but I'm not much of a drinker, and so I'm drinking more of a dessert than a cocktail.
And I got almost all the ingredients for that, too.
I bought all the ingredients for it. I mixed it up, and I looked at it, and I'm like, this is brown. Do I really want to know where this lady's finger's been? You know what I mean? Oh, Lordy. And so it tasted like a cognac, which, is definitely not something that I was expecting, nor did I really want. So, yeah. So thanks to Christy, we are having a sweet tight pussy. Yay.
Yeah, and I did so. One of the biggest reasons that we decided against the ladyfinger, outside of the unsavory color, is that I tried cognac and I don't like it. And, it's those dark brown alcohols. They're just so overpowering. Yeah, I tried Scotch again last week, and I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, stay away from the doo-doo brown color. You'd be all right.
Very nice.
I'm a class act, aren't I?
You are. I'm proud to know you.
Okay, before this show gets really off track, let's introduce our author guest. Okay. This author grew up in the sloping hills of southern Germany and spent most of her childhood with her nose buried in a book. And she's been writing since she was 11. She's written 24 mostly novel-length stories ranging across different genres, and I believe that may have been in her earlier formative years. And being a psychologist doesn't keep her from being creative, because when she's not working, she's writing. And she keeps her creative juices fresh by reading, cooking for friends, spending time with family, and watching crime shows. And we think she may be a panelist at the Fem/Con this year, which we're pretty excited about. And she can, say A or nay on that one. Of the books that she has out for sale, there are several. Backwards to Oregon, which we'll discuss, I'm sure, today. Hidden Truths, which is a sequel to Backwards to Oregon. But then she has two little prequels, one sequel, and a spin-off to Backwards to Oregon, which are actually free from her publisher, if memory serves. She also has written Conflict of Interest, Next of Kin, and a sequel to Next of Kin, Change of Pace. She's written Second Nature, a shapeshifter romance, a sequel to Second Nature, Coming to Dinner, and Babysitter Material. And we are very proud and pleased to welcome one of our favorite authors, Jay.
Yay.
Yay!
Glad to be here.
Yay.
So did the few dozen stories that you wrote, was that in your younger years?
That was when I was growing up and in my teenager years, yes.
Very nice. Professor.
Any chance of, have any of those, have we seen any hints of those in your published works?
Not at all, not at all. I wouldn't want to go back and redo something that I wrote as a child and as a teenager.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm really thrilled. I've been looking forward to this show for a while. Yours were some of the first books that I picked up, and I just have to say I'm thrilled that you're with L Book and not with any of the other publishing houses that put strict limitations on length, because you write a great long story.
Mm-hmm, that's true.
Great long story.
I'm pretty happy with L Book too, not just because of that, but they don't put limits on any content stuff. They don't tell me how to write my books, what to write in my books, and they don't restrict the length.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
And I'll say that they also have fantastic customer service. Roxanne and Tony do a fantastic job of making sure that if there's a problem, that it's fixed immediately. So I've never had a bad experience buying anything from L Book.
Great. That's good to hear.
Mm-hmm. And I got to say, when I was at the GCLS, I always get a chance to talk to Roxanne for a little bit. And my first question in my mouth is, Jay going to be here? That's always the first. And she looks at me like, will you stop asking already? She'll be here when she's here. But yeah.
I'm planning on being there maybe next year or the year after that. But I say that every year, and so it's hard to take 2 or 3 weeks off in a row in my job, and coming to the US, I wouldn't want to go just for the con, and so we will see.
Well, if you make it next year, I'll get to meet you, which would be wonderful. But if not, then I'll just continue to harass you. Long distance. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
That's fine. You do that.
Oh, goodness. Before we start talking about the stories in particular, Rev, is there any other announcements you wanted to make?
The only thing that I really wanted to, actually, I guess there are two. There are two things that I wanted to bring up. One is, if you haven't checked out the Survive By information, and you absolutely should. And if you haven't made a donation yet and you're able to, I would strongly encourage you to do that. Brenda and Shane are still needing to raise about $7,000 to get them out of post-production. So if there's anything you can do to help out with that, I know that they would really appreciate it. The second thing that I wanted to talk about is we are very quickly approaching the International Day of FemSlash and the FemSlashCon, and I did my very first infomercial, I guess you could call it.
With your sexy voice, no less.
It's my very sexy voice. I pulled it out just for the occasion. Mm-hmm. But Jay did confirm, while we were having technical difficulties, that she is, in fact, going to be a panelist. So there's added incentive to make sure that you tune in to the FemSlashCon. Jay, what panels are you doing?
I'm just doing one. I'm doing the publishing panel, which is on Sunday.
Okay, excellent,
nice.
Excellent. And everybody, if you go to femslashcon.com, you can find a listing of all of the panels, what rooms they're in, what time they're going on, and they are listed in several different time zones, so you can find one that you can figure out, or you can just call Andy and she'll help you, because she's good with that. Or Jay helped me. So there you go. I'm bad with time zones. Also, Rio.
Don't they have like widgets and stuff for that?
I don't, I know I can Google that. I know that. But, sometimes it's just, I need that human connection.
I know. You need the hand holding. I get it.
I do. I'm a very needy, fragile flower. Rio from Xena Library and the Conquerors Library also posted a whole slew of information over at the Cocktail Hour Forum. If you're interested, you can go there and look too. That's all I got.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Information packed. I love it.
Woohoo.
I know. Okay,
all
awkward
right,
pause. Yeah. All right, so how about we leap right into Hidden Truths? You want to leap into that one?
Let's leap.
All right.
Let's leap, shall we?
Let's leap, Shen.
All right. Now, of course, I don't have a summary prepared, and just so everybody knows, I'm not pronouncing any names again. Anything that can be easily done, I'm not gonna do it, because I don't know. I think Charlie's been really busy, because she hasn't pointed out any issues, and I know that there had to be some on. Oh no, she did on the last show with Nan Hawthorne. She did say that, putting it nicely, she did all right. Yeah. So,
just so you know, Jay, Charlie is one of our buddies that listens to our show consistently.
I think
she knows.
Oh, you do?
I listened to the episode, so I remember her. And you have the author right here, so whatever I say is the correct name.
Okay.
See, that's the kind of answer we need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that mealy mouth, mushy business.
No,
just right to it. This is it. Right. This is this is how you say it.
It's my book. It's what I say.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe exactly. I need to write down all of my commands to my kid and my wife like that, and say, "Well, I wrote it. That's how it is." I don't think that's going to go.
It only works that way in fiction.
I'll keep that in mind, damn it. All right, so Hidden Truths. I could probably get to some place where I can read something here, the back cover summary. That way I can at least have everybody right there. All right, so Hidden Truths is a sequel to Backwards to Oregon, which Andy and I both love. One of our very, very favorite books. Yep. So what Hidden Truths picks up 17 years after Backwards to Oregon. The Hamilton Horse Ranch is pretty well established. Luke and Nora are doing very well, and their daughters Amy and Natty have grown into pretty much, I think, what Luke had always hoped that they would: strong, independent women who don't feel bound to do what society thinks that they should. Amy has some other issues going on. She has discovered, or accepted that she's attracted to women and not men, and she's dealing with that and how society is going to see her and the church and things like that. Meanwhile, so that's what's happening in Oregon. Meanwhile, we have a whole nother part of the story taking place in Boston with Rika and Joe. Rika Aldenberg and Joe, who is not listed here on the back cover, so I don't remember what her last name is, but it starts with a B. Bran. What is it, Jay?
Brueggemann.
Okay. So they're working in a cotton mill, which just happens to be owned by Nora's family, which I thought was a really nice tie-in, by the way.
Yeah.
And Joe is supposed to be marrying a guy that she met through an ad in a local newspaper who is looking for a wife. But Joe doesn't quite make it to Oregon, and Rika ends up taking her place, and that's what the story is essentially about. Rika ending up at the Hamilton Horse Ranch and her developing relationship with Amy, and how they're each dealing with their hidden truths. So, do you want to just go from there?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Jay, do you want to add anything to that?
Just that you got all the names right.
Yay!
Oh, yay! And you're the expert here, so I'm going to go with that.
I had a friend of mine who's Dutch. She pronounced the names for me, and it's I think you can find it on my blog, but I can't pronounce it the Dutch way. So the English way is fine.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, not too many people compliment Rev on her pronunciation.
I can't think of anyone.
I really enjoyed the flow of this book. It opened up with the two poor, wretched souls, working in industrialized. What was it? I forget what it was. Was it a cotton mill? No.
It's a cotton mill, yes.
It was a cotton mill. And just the plight of their lives was you just want to string yourself up on their behalf. You're just like, oh my hell, are you kidding me? That's awful. And the only other prospect is to, get out of there and marry somebody you don't even know. Oh man, that's bleak. That's just bleak. But it was a really good opener. It grabbed you, it hooked you in, and, the story just flowed very, very well. Especially with the teenagers back at the Hamilton Ranch with Amy and Natty. Sometimes you don't really remember what all that angsty business was about when you were that young. Everybody goes through it for different different things. But every teenager has angst for some reason. And you did a really, really fine job of bringing that anxiety and that confusion and that difficult period really to the fore. I was certainly expecting a sequel to be more centered on the two main characters from Backwards to Oregon, but and I think a lot of people probably did. So at first, it really when I discovered that it was a sequel set several years in the future, I was a little bit put off at first, but I'm so glad that I got over that initial reaction and read the book, because it was very entertaining. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, and I got that reaction a lot. A lot of people sent me emails and said that they were a bit skeptical about reading the sequel because they weren't sure if they wanted to read a sequel that focuses more on the daughters, not so much on Luke and Nora.
Mm-hmm.
I had that exact same thing, because I think as readers we love Luke and Nora.
Oh yeah.
There was and I think that goes to your ability to not rush the relationships in your books. You take the time. And I think that's one of the main complaints that I've always had with lesbian romance books. Maybe romance in general, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But the quickness that total strangers meet and immediately fall in love, so that they can continue on with the drama of the story. But with your stories, we have an opportunity to get to know each individual character and watch them come together. So we feel attached to Luke and Nora, and I really didn't think that I would be able to care about Amy enough to without wishing that it had been Luke and Nora. But you did a great job of incorporating Luke and Nora and not through massive flashbacks or anything like that, but simple recollections and while Luke is heading back to Fort Boise, we were on this trailer. This is where Natty was born, and we first made love. Without beating us over the head, you go with the assumption that the reader knows enough about the first one that you don't have to go into huge amounts of detail.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also Luke and Nora, they are essential not just as a couple, but also for the plot, for the development of Amy and Rika's relationship. If you would take out Luke, the story, Amy's development couldn't have happened the way it did in Hidden Truth.
Oh, that's true.
Very true.
Yeah.
I have to say, I didn't want that revelation to come out, and I wasn't sure how I was going to respond once it did. But I can't get the image of Luke sitting in his chair, bent over at the waist, agonizing over what he's about, what she's about to say, and Nora, rubbing her back, and that really had. You really give a good image, of the. I was able to feel, the anguish that Luke was feeling at that moment.
Yep, but that could be said with just about every book that I've read that Jay's written. I mean, you have a very good way of not, belaboring a point or a description, but you get, right to the core of it without sacrificing, the story. I mean, I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but, you can say something that evokes imagery in as little words as possible, whereas somebody else, it might take them several, sentences or even paragraphs to be able to get to the heart of the matter like you do, and that's really quite a skill.
Thank you. I think sometimes a bit of body language or a simple image says much more than a lot of paragraphs of description.
Yeah. One thing that I thought that I knew almost immediately exactly how it was how the relationships were going to resolve themselves. Was that something that you were trying to as far as like the relationship between Natty and Finn? Was that something that you intended to have be pretty transparent at the onset, or am I just super awesome?
Maybe it might be a bit of both.
That was very diplomatic.
That's awesome. That's great.
No, I think I didn't want to hide it because Nettie doesn't have her own point of view in the book, so I couldn't afford to be too secretive about it, because then it would come as too much of a surprise. And in the first draft, I have written. Test readers told me that the relationship that Natty has, and in the end, it comes as too much of a surprise. So I included hints and bits and pieces much earlier in the next draft.
Okay, all right. Well, then I'm only a little awesome. Okay, that's all right. One of the things that I like about all of your books is they feel very, very well researched. The descriptions that you give of not only the cotton mill, the conditions that they're working under, the attitudes of the bosses, but the the boarding house and the street scenes, they feel very authentic, and they do they do mirror much of what I've read personally about that era in our history. How much did you research on women's economic roles in that period before you wrote this?
I researched a lot, not only on women's roles and life in the cities and the working conditions in cotton mills and in other industries, but most of my research for Hidden Truths was actually about horses and horse training and horseback riding. I think I might have read about 50 books on that.
Wow. And it really showed. That was actually one of the notes that I had written, that the details that you go into with the horse's anatomy, the training techniques, it was very, very good. And for somebody like me who has no experience, it was it drew me in more. Mm-hmm. So you did a really, really great job on that. Really great.
Yeah, she did. It's fabulous.
I didn't have any clue about horses and horse training, and I'm not a rider. So, I know what I needed to include in order to make it understandable for someone who doesn't know horses.
Well, if you ever decide you want to, own a horse ranch, you're well on your way.
Yeah,
well
no doubt.
on your way.
No doubt.
Yeah. That's the feeling I got. In the end, I knew so much about horses that I felt as if I could ride on a horse in the morning.
Yeah,
on my way to work.
That'd be unconventional.
You wouldn't get as much riding done on the horse as you do on the train, but
that's right. That's right.
All right.
So, what? I'm going to sneak in here. What inspired you to write this story as the sequel, instead of picking up with Luke and Nora building their homestead and their ranch and the trials that ensued there? I mean, why did you set it 17 years in the future? I mean, was there any one particular event or something that spurred you to do that, or what was the genesis there?
Yes, well, when I first wrote Backwards to Oregon, I got a lot of feedback mails, about hundreds of feedback mails, and most of them asked me for a sequel. And I always said, no, there won't be a sequel, because for me, all the important questions were already answered. Will they get together? Will they get to Oregon? And I had already shown a few of the things establishing the ranch in the short stories. A Rooster's Job, for example. So for me, there was not enough material to write a novel-length sequel. And then at one point, I was rereading Backwards to Oregon, and I came across a scene in which Nora is about 8 months pregnant, and Luke is taking over doing the laundry while they're still on the Oregon Trail. So, and all the other people still think that Luke is a man, and only Nora knows. And Nora watches her then 4-year-old daughter, Amy, watch Luke doing the laundry, and she sits there and wonders, what kind of woman will Amy become if she grows up with Luke as her father? And that's basically the story that Hidden Truths tells.
Nice.
And that's exactly the scene that I thought of. Was Nora saying, and even I think Luke had said too, maybe she'll grow up to be the first horse ranch owner, and so it was that those scenes were the perfect launching point for it.
Right.
Absolutely.
But also Luke was also a bit afraid that Amy would become, or either of her daughters would become too much like her.
But that was all right, because Luke is a wonderful person, and we all love her so.
We do. We really do.
Well, is there anything else we want to talk about for Hidden Truths?
All I would suggest now is we ask the listeners to please go out and buy a copy.
Damn right. If you, just go buy the damn book.
Go buy that damn book, people.
Go buy the damn book. but I'll be honest with you, and I would say, don't just buy Hidden Truths. I would buy every damn thing that Jay's written, and I'll say it again. I've said it before. I am not on L Book payroll.
No.
But I've said it. We've talked about this before too. But those short stories that are put out, I was out there today and found there's one that I didn't know about. So I have to read another one now.
Oh, that's kind of nice. That's like holidays in July. Yeah,
it is. It's fantastic. Are there going to be any shorts coming out for Hidden Truths?
I'm not sure. Not at the moment. I have already written 5 short stories that deal with the Oregon characters. So for now, I don't have any plans. But I've learned to never say never.
There you go. Excellent.
I like that. Hey, wasn't that title of a Bond film too? Okay, I know, non sequitur.
All right. Hidden Truths, and I don't even know what else to say about it. I don't want to shortchange it by not talking about it a lot, but it just it was really good. The development of the we didn't really talk much about Rika, and she was really really torn and feeling very, very guilty about having to mislead the Hamilton family, and she constantly drew parallels between her own family, her abusive father and brother, and Luke and Nora, and how they raised their kids and the interactions between them. I know we didn't talk about that at all, but
it'll be a nice little surprise for those that read it.
Okay, then I'm just going to be quiet about Hidden Truths. It was really, really good. I really did enjoy it very much, and I think part of the reason I enjoyed it as much as I did is because I didn't expect to. I really didn't.
I would agree with that. That's exactly when I went into it with not as high of expectation. Once I found out it was set in the future, but it definitely exceeded my expectation. I loved it.
And I think I had very much the same response to Next of Kin, and when I wrote my gushing fan letter to you, Jay, about Next of Kin, I told you the same thing. I did not expect to really care about Del and Cade's relationship after sticking with Aiden and Dawn. But you made me eat those words because I absolutely did. They, each of the characters has their own feel, and sometimes in sequels, a lot of the times in sequels, it's just kind of the same shit rehashed.
Yeah.
And with yours, they're not like that, even though I go into them expecting it. So, thanks for being different.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
So after I read Hidden Truths, I went back and I reread Second Nature. Mm-hmm. You want to talk about that one?
Sure.
Andy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I'll tell you, and I had somebody else mention this to me a week or so ago, that it took them a few days to get into Second Nature because they were overwhelmed by the glossary and all of the list of characters in the front. And I remember feeling exactly the same way. I started reading. I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm going to like this. This is just too much to figure out. So when I did my reread, I completely skipped that part and just relied on the story to tell me who everybody was, and then it was okay. Have you heard that before?
Not that particular feedback, but I think the first chapters are really full of new concepts, of new terms, and of new characters, and so it might be that it's a little bit hard to get into.
Yeah, it wasn't the story itself wasn't hard to get into. It was the because it started out with that list of characters, and I remember reading through it, going, okay, I'm going to try and remember who all these people are, and yeah, it was a bad thing for me to do, but I think other people have done that also.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, I actually saw the glossary, and I flipped real quick to the beginning of the story and read, and then went back and looked at it when I got, like, who was that? You know, like I got a little bit confused, and I went back and looked, and then used it, and then moved on again. But yeah, it was fine.
You were smarter than me.
No, I swear to you, I think I'm getting like ADD or something. Because I'm thinking, okay, if it looks like it's a little daunting, I'm just moving on. But I always in the back of my mind know it's there if I have to refer to it, you know?
Yes,
So.
That's exactly how it was meant to be used, and not that you have to learn every character by heart.
Score!
It's because I'm obsessive and I can't skip any pages. Otherwise, it bothers me, and I have to go back and do it anyway. But it's okay. I have my issues. It's all right. I wanted to ask you. There's so many different names for the different types of shapeshifters and their different roles. How did you come up with those names?
Actually, I didn't. I learned the words and the terms from an old language that really exists. It's Tocharian. There were a race of people who lived in what is today West China in about the 6th century. And what drew my interest was that they all had blonde hair or reddish hair, and in an area where all the other people looked Asian. Mm-hmm. And in the same area, there were also a lot of tiger shifter legends. So it fit my book very well, and a few parts of their language are still known today. So I used some of the words from their language.
How did you find out about that?
Well, I stumbled across it during my research on tigers, because in that very same area in China, there was once a subspecies of tigers known as the Caspian tiger. And in related to that, I stumbled across the information about the Tocharians.
Interesting. And is that part of the reason why you have Jory as an Asian American?
Exactly, that is the reason.
Okay. Very interesting. That's really interesting.
It's a little inside joke.
It is. Why is that an inside joke? Oh, because of the.
Yeah, because no one but me knows it, and so it's. It's
oh, that's very inside.
Yeah. Well, now other people know it.
That's awesome, but only the people that listen to this show.
Well, that's true.
So there you go. Us and our 5 listeners. That could be one of the questions. There you go. That could be one of our questions, but we already decided on them. So we haven't even said that yet.
No, I thought we would do that at the end.
Okay, well then all you people have to wait.
That's right. Keep listening, damn it. Keep listening. Keep drinking and keep listening.
I wanted to ask you too, how much of Jory is there in you?
Well, I think there's a bit of me in all of my characters, but it was fun because she's a writer like me, and well, a lot of the little habits she has when she's procrastinating and when she's stuck on a scene, doing the word count and taking out a comma and checking her email. That's some stuff I also do when I kind of have a bit of a writer's block or a scene is dragging.
And she also writes in a lot of different genres, like you do too.
That's right. Also, she switched from writing, I think, heterosexual romances and fiction to writing lesbian fiction. Mm-hmm. So versus even more of a variety of genres.
Yeah. Andy, do you want to go? Do you want to talk?
Are you tired of talking?
No, I get excited and just go. So well, I'm.
Well, you want to do a summary of the story?
Oh, I forgot all about that.
Because I'm relying on that summary.
Oh, that's right. I just want to move on in and expect everyone to know what's happening. Okay. So Second Nature, if you haven't already figured it out, is a story about some shapeshifters, like a whole community of shapeshifters, and they really do have a very complex society. And the main shapeshifter that we get to meet is Griffin Westmore, and she is a Saru who is that's part of the she's a soldier, and she is being sent out by the council to investigate a writer who is writing a book that that's a bit too close to the truth of what their society is. And Jory Price is the writer in question, and Griffin is sent out to investigate her and figure out how she knows so much about them. Well, there you go. Yeah, that probably doesn't prompt a lot for you yet, but
no, it does help a little. I do remember enjoying the interaction between Griffith and Jory, because when they finally got to the meat of the matter, it was like, well, it was it was how I would conceptualize it. Well, it made sense. This isn't like, it seems like a natural progression when she's writing about these characters, and I thought, yeah, you go, Jory, you go, girl. So I remember that. That was one of my reactions to that story. But I do like that there were such a variety of characters in that story. And correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't some of them not tigers? Some of them...
Yeah, they were all different kinds, yeah.
Yeah, we had some lions and wolf shifters and a bear shifter.
Yeah.
And all kinds.
Because I don't think I'd read other shifting... were animals when I had read this book, and this was a couple years back. I hadn't read such a variety of shifting animals since Laurel K. Hamilton, which I really thought, how cool is that? I mean, have you ever read any Laurel K. Hamilton?
No, I haven't, but I know she has a lot of different animals, also I think birds and rats.
Yeah, were-rats.
Yes.
Were-geese. Like they're going to be intimidating.
I'm afraid of geese, and I'm just going to put that out there right now. So I would be afraid of were-geese.
Yeah, but
they can be really mean, yes.
See? That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I haven't been around geese, so I can't help you there. They just don't seem very intimidating.
They are. When they charge you, yes, they're scary. So there you go. I've had some experiences. We have some geese where I work, and when the female lays her eggs, the male, if you walk too close to them, they're right almost on the freaking sidewalk. So you have to, they'll charge you. They're not nice.
Wow. Well,
yes.
Thankfully, Jay doesn't have any were-geese.
No. And I think
no birds in my stories.
No, is there a reason for that? Have you had some traumatic experiences?
No, because in the shifter concept that I have, in all were and shifter stories, you have a problem with the weight, because an animal that weighs as much as a bear, it will still weigh as much when it's in his human form. So if you have a bird, it is supposed to fly, and an 160-pound bird, it couldn't fly.
You'd have to have some type of like a were ostrich or an emu or something like that.
Something like that. Maybe that.
Well, keep that in mind. That was one thing that I really liked about Second Nature is that Griffin weighed 400 pounds.
Mm-hmm, she did.
Because
she's a liger.
And when during the scenes in the cafe where she moves her arm, she stretches her arm out and knocks over a salt shaker on the next table. That was great. And the comments about well-made furniture, I enjoyed that also.
Yeah. You can do that flimsy rooms to go shit.
Yeah. She thinks that human furniture is a bit too fragile.
Yeah, I guess so.
The relationship that Griffin has with Jory's cats, I really enjoyed that. Particularly, was it Emmy that wouldn't come near her?
Two of them wouldn't come near her. One of them, Agatha, who avoided her entirely and didn't show up.
That's the one, yeah.
The three-colored one, who always hissed at her, that was Emily.
Yeah, but Will, Will was a sweetie. Mm-hmm. I liked Will. There was something that I don't think that I picked up on as much the first time I read it as the second time. But the second time I read it, I really didn't feel that much of an attraction or a chemistry between the two main characters. Not as much as some of the other characters in your books, and I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was just my perception this time, because I think I had even made note that I enjoyed the slow build up the first time I read it, but I didn't feel that so much this time. I think the action of the story gripped me maybe more than the romantic aspects of it.
And I think it's fine, because it was meant to be this way. For me, Second Nature isn't really a romance. I mean, it is. It has a romantic subplot, but it's more of a suspense story, not so much of a romance. So it's fine if it takes the backseat for you, and it was meant to be that way.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the action scenes, like when Jory's on the run. I just read. Yeah, you write a damn fine book.
Yeah, you really do. So here's another one, listeners. Go buy the damn book.
Yeah, the Second Nature is the just the storyline itself, the plot itself is so good, and Jory has such a strength about her, and she's just so cautious, and I don't know, that I really, really enjoyed it. And I like the fact that there's some fan fiction mentions and work with beta readers and things like that, things that unless people, like when I had first read this, I had already been familiar with the fan fiction world and things like that, but I know that there are still lots and lots of readers of lesbian fiction that have no idea that entire universe exists.
Yeah, that's true. I'm always surprised. I don't know why, but I always am surprised.
Yeah, I come from writing fan fiction too, so it was natural to put it in the story.
And I wanted to actually ask you about the fan fiction that you had written. I didn't realize that Conflict of Interest and Next of Kin had started out as Law and Order SVU fics. But when I read them, when I bought them and read them, within and I had never been an SVU watcher, really. Maybe I watched a handful of episodes here and there, but it was so easy to see those characters, even though their names had been changed and their physical characteristics had been changed a bit. But it was so easy to tell who was who in the cast. But I didn't care, at all. It didn't make any difference to me where the stories had initially come from. But I did see, and I'd always kind of wanted to ask you about, what your response is when people just throw out, well, these are just ripoffs of SVU fic, and I had actually read some comments from readers that were really pissed off that you had taken the online versions down. And I always wanted to ask you what your response to that is, or how you feel about that.
Well, no one really said it to my face, but part of me can understand it. But conflict of interest is on one hand, it's fan fiction because one of the main characters was based on a character from the TV show, but Dawn and her whole family and on friends, she's my creation entirely, and even the other character, it's my interpretation of her character and her backstory, and I took the core idea from the TV show and I in a way made it my own, and I'm not even really the first writer to do so. L.J. Maas, for example, she did the same thing with the Conqueror stories, and she published it as an original. And so for me, it didn't really bother me when someone said that. But I think it wasn't a bad decision
to publish them.
To publish them.
Oh no, absolutely not. And no, absolutely not. Those are great.
Because it wasn't in the beginning. It wasn't even my idea or the idea of my publisher. But several readers apparently approached my publisher, and because they wanted to read the stories, they wanted to have a book or an ebook, and I obviously couldn't do that with the fan fiction version.
Yeah, and that's one of the other things that I really like about L-Book is that I don't know if it's still there or not, but there used to be a spot on L-Book's website where if you had read something by someone and you wanted if you wanted L-Book to reach out to them and talk to them about getting published, or at least having someone at L-Book read their work, that you could do that. You could submit that. I always thought that was a fantastic idea.
I think it's still there. That's function excellent. Is still there.
I had actually I did that with creme brulee because I love cooking on high so much, but you can't find that person. I don't know who that is, but
no, we know who it's not.
Huh?
We know who it's not.
That's right. That's right.
It's not Colette.
It is not. No,
it is not.
I saw online that I was looking through the L-Book thing this morning, and you had said that you had started out that you had written 3 Law and Order SVU fanfics. So we've got Conflict of Interest and Next of Kin. Did you combine those 3 into those 2 books, or is there something else coming?
No, those 3 were a series of short stories. Observation, Interrogation, and Confession. It's a very short series, and it's actually the very first thing I ever wrote in English. And after that, I wrote Conflict of Interest, and a little later, Next of Kin.
Okay. I'm going to assume that you're done with those. Will we see anything else from...
We will probably see a short story maybe this year or at the beginning of next year, but probably not a novel.
Okay.
Wow. Somebody on Facebook asked us to ask that question, so I'm glad it came up.
Somebody did?
Yeah. And somebody also told me, and I don't remember when or who, but that you're able to pretty much, after you do the research, put together your novel in about 3 months. Is that true?
After I do the plotting and all the character research and the research for the plot, it depends on the book, 3 to 4 months, but that's for the first draft, not for the entire project.
Wow.
Wow. I usually put it away for a month, and then the revisions take me about 6 months.
Wow. That sucks for us, though. I mean, I know it's a really long process, and your books are so good, because you do all of this research and you take the time to you've got a lot of test readers and beta readers, and you do a lot of work before we get to see it. But it's tough for us because we have to wait.
Yeah, that is true. Oh,
and we don't like to wait.
We don't like to wait because we're just like that. Any ideas on the horizon, or any possible pirate stories on the horizon? Well, I can't ask her if she's written a Western, clearly. But, any pirate stories?
Well, my usual answer, never say never, but it's not in my immediate future.
Well, we're just here to help you out and give you some additional ideas,
yeah,
you know.
Exactly.
I saw on your website there's you're working on something called True Nature.
I am. True Nature is not really a sequel. It's more of a standalone, but it also takes place in the same universe as Second Nature does. But with totally different main characters. So Jory and Griffin make a quick appearance, but the main character, maybe you remember her, it's Kelsey Yates from the Wolf Shifter that you met very briefly in Second Nature.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes,
are you going to give us anything else?
I can. The basic idea was usually in stories like this, the Wolf Shifter most often is an alpha. And Kelsey is not. She's more of an omega, a submissive wolf. And in the story, she's sent out to rescue a young shapeshifter who has grown up amongst humans and who has no clue that he's actually a shapeshifter too.
Oh.
And he's going through puberty, and so he has no idea that he's about to undergo his first change.
Wow.
And yeah. That's
okay. And when do you think we'll be seeing this one?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm going through some difficulties with the revisions right now because it's a complicated plot. So it will probably take me about 3 more months to get the revisions done, and I will see how long the beta reading, the second read through of my beta readers takes, and then I will submit it. So I don't think it will be this year.
Yeah. Sounds more like a spring or a summer next year kind of thing.
It sounds like it, yes.
Yeah. Well, damn.
We just have to be patient.
Sure, pique our interest, damn it. Oh.
Well, as long as maybe we'll get a short story in between, maybe.
You will get at least one.
Excellent.
Yay! Yay!
Yeah. We're not greedy.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're not greedy. We're not picky. We'll take it all.
Yeah. We are greedy. We're just not picky. Okay.
As long as it's a pirate story, you will take it.
Well, yeah. Well, we definitely like those pirate stories.
Here you go. Here's the pirate story. Okay.
Here we go.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Amy has a dream where she's a pirate.
Hey,
I think it could work.
It's got little beginnings there.
It could work. It could work.
Uh-huh.
All right, then. Let's see. Is there anything else? I mean, Andy hasn't read Conflict of Interest and Next of Kin.
Would I do it? I inherently know they were SVU fans.
Would you? Yeah, you would. I think that you would.
Oh, that's too funny. Because I know Roxanne was trying to get me to buy them at the con. You want to buy these, right? And I'm like, I picked it up. I look at the back. I'm like, no, that sounds like a crime drone. No. And I remember thinking, what is that SVU? What the hell? So, no.
Yeah, Andy's just not big on prison or
right.
detective stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I really like them, and I wanted to tell you that I'm sure that this is completely not what you intended, but I think this is because I read too much fan fiction that I saw Dawn as Gabrielle.
Really?
I could not help it. Yes, and I saw a lot of, because of her her ability to empathize so well, and she's sweet and compassionate, and she's got strawberry blonde hair, and she's shorter, and I don't know, I couldn't help it, and I'm sure that nobody else probably did that, but like I say, I blame it on the Xenoverse. It's not my fault.
Well, what people most often ask me is not if she's based on Gabrielle, but if she's based on me, because she's a psychologist too, and so people always think maybe it's kind of autobiographical or something like that.
Well, I'm sure that part of you ended, like you said, part of you ends up in all of them. And
the interesting thing is that maybe I have at least as much in common with Aiden, who is based on a character that isn't even my own, as I have with Dawn, and it's interesting.
I think if we all look closely enough, we can probably, and I think that's probably all can see bits of ourselves in almost all of these characters, which is what draws us in, I think.
Sure,
How would we as readers respond and react to different scenarios and situations? And I think, I find myself thinking those things all the time when there's some type of traumatic event or a suspenseful, drama-filled thing. How would I respond? And I think that's how we judge those characters on their believability and how we relate to them.
Yep, most definitely. It's like we've run out of steam.
I know. Well, let's just take a second here. So we've been on the phone for an hour and a half, right?
Well, you guys might have been on for an hour and a half.
We had some massive technical issues.
Yeah, that
tonight.
really threw me off. Damn it.
Yes, and Jay has been wonderful. Oh, Andy, I promised Jay we'd send her some swag.
Oh, okay. Yay.
So we're gonna send. Well, Jay, we will send you. Would you rather have a T-shirt or a coffee mug?
I think I'll take the coffee mug.
All right. Then I think we need to make it. Andy, you got a coffee mug, right? You said it was okay, or just it was too small?
No. They're fine. They're fine.
All right. Okay. Well, we will get you a coffee mug.
Yeah. No problem.
All right. And speaking of giveaways.
Aha. Good segue.
I thought so. Thank you.
Dang, girl, you go. Woohoo.
Jay has graciously agreed to give away 2 of her books. We went through this once before. I want to be a little more specific. 2 books that she has written to 2 lucky listeners who will have who give the correct answer to the questions we are about to pose. So I will take all correct answers, put them in a hat. If we have more than 5 this time, I'll do the number generator. But I'm not going to do the number generator for 5 answers. So there. And I've lost my train of thought.
Oh,
I'm getting old.
Yeah. Okay, so the 2 questions that you have to answer are...
Okay, you can answer one of the following questions. In Backwards to Oregon, what name does little Amy give Luke's horse? And the second one is also horse-related. In Hidden Truths, Amy allows Rika to name a newborn foal. What name does Rika give to the baby horse? I would accept one of 2 answers. So
let me ask you this. Playing devil's advocate here. Say, is it possible that somebody could get one of the questions right, one of them wrong, get 1 book? Or do they have to answer both? How does that work?
Gosh, I was just thinking,
I would suggest we have 2 books to give away, and one person gets 1 answer right, they get 1 book, and the other person who gets the other question right can get the other book.
Nice.
So can they only enter for? Maybe we should just make it for either Backwards to Oregon or Hidden Truths.
I don't think so, because if they have already read a book, maybe they want one of my others.
Okay. So, but what if they submit an answer for both? Can one person technically win? Could they theoretically win both books?
Theoretically, yes.
All right then. Okay, I just want to make sure we got the rules laid out here because because I'm sure that Gloria and Pixie are the only ones who are going to enter. We'll be fighting it out.
Well, the problem is, and we've heard some backlash from our last giveaway, is that, when they find out what we're going to be discussing, they'll wait and get the book and read it and then listen to the podcast. So they had no idea that there was a book giveaway until it was long past, submission entries. And I was like, well, that'll teach you.
Well, what we can do then to eliminate that issue is the 2 of us will post on Facebook, Twitter, and on our website the questions and that way they don't have to listen to the show right away.
Well, that'll be nice.
But, that's crap, because we did that with Colette's book, too. Just a bunch of whiners you people are. Whiners. We're giving you the opportunity to get some stuff. Quit your bitching and send in your answers. See, I told you, I'm not really a people person at all.
Oh, Lordy. So, is there anything else you'd like to talk about, Jay?
Ref asked me earlier about the con. Mm-hmm. Do you want to say something about the panels you are on?
No, we're not on any panels. We're lazy.
Ah, okay. Then I misunderstood. I thought you were in several. Okay.
No.
Unless they signed her up and didn't tell her.
No. We're listed only as affiliates. We've been helping out with the with just like the promotions of it. No, I don't know. I don't think I know enough about that stuff, and I don't know. That's too much human interaction for me.
Okay.
She should be real fun at the Minneapolis con next year.
I'll be fine for that. That there's other stuff to do, and I'll just hang around you. You do all the talking, and because my wife has been quieter than I am, she'll just sit there.
No. I'll get y'all interacted. That's all right.
We'll see.
Not to worry. We'll ply you with Sex with Jennifer. You'll be fine.
That was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm just, this show has just been kind of a rambling on of things, and I feel like we've missed a lot of stuff. There's just so many good things to say about the work that you've done, and I don't want to sound like a huge gushing fan, but
why not? Go ahead.
Well, I just don't think that there's anything that I've read of yours that I didn't walk away from it going, wow, that was a really great story. That's it right there. You are a really great storyteller.
Here.
So
thank you.
Thanks. No, thank you.
No, thank you. Exactly.
All right. Well, I'm done rambling.
All right, you're done rambling? I don't have anything more to say.
All right, then.
Because I will sound like a fawning fan.
I'm enjoying listening to all the compliments.
Oh, yay!
Oh, yay!
She's going to say, wow, can I come on, once every quarter? Every week.
Excellent. We'd be happy to have you. If you have an interest in coming on when True Nature comes out, we'd love to have you.
Sure.
Oh, sure.
And when you put out that pirate story,
we'd
love to have you on for that, too.
Oh, definitely.
I'll put Andy in the acknowledgement.
Oh, thanks.
In a minute.
Excellent.
But you have to list me if it's Amy having a dream.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I will.
Okay. I can be just as big of an attention whore than as Andy.
Oh, yeah.
Come on now.
It's true. It's true.
All right, so we've got books to give away. We've got and Jay's always got you've got postcards and bookmarks and things like that. There's you've got a really nice website where you talk about things that don't have to do with your books. I saw you've got some stuff going on about body language and your interesting addiction to office supplies, which kicked off an entire conversation on was the virtual living room.
And even more emails from all the closeted addicts.
That's awesome. Are you gonna write some papers on this?
I don't think so. But I needed some proof for whenever I got teased for having an addiction to all the office supplies, and so there's proof.
Well, at least it's not crack. So. There you go.
Well, it depends on what kind of crack we're talking. Never mind.
Naughty.
I know. What can I tell you?
All right, then. Well, thanks for coming on. This is a great coup for us.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know what we're doing next time. We haven't talked about it.
Yeah, no, and I want to get my little thank you in as well, because this has just been a real thrill for me, and I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, and I think I did, one of those yay me dances at the con when I was talking to a couple of other friends. I was like, guess who we're having on next month? We're having Jade. I did a little happy dance, and they're like, you have lost your mind. I'm like, yes.
Didn't Roxanne say something like, "Oh, you are"?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I said that was like my follow-up conversation with Roxanne. The first one was, "Is Jay going to be here?" And then it was like, "Hey, she's coming on next month to come on our show." She's like, "What?" It was hilarious.
I think I forgot to tell her that. Yes.
Well,
she knows now.
we were just hoping that she wouldn't listen to the shows before you got a chance to be on and put the kibosh on that. We don't want to step in and go, "Oh no, I'm afraid that just can't happen."
No, I don't think she would do that.
No, I don't think she would either. She's a very gracious person.
She's great.
Yeah, she's very nice. I actually sat with her at the awards banquet, and she kept looking over at me because I had my iPhone and I'm updating everybody on Facebook on who's winning what. Mm-hmm. And she keeps looking over at me because it has that nice electric glow, And so she keeps looking over, trying to see what I'm doing. It was really cute.
Yeah, well, the year before that, the same went on the L-book table. So they were texting me every few minutes about one of the awards I had won. And so in the morning when I woke up, I had about 3 dozens of messages saying congratulations. Mm-hmm. And I had to click through 5 or 6 of them before finding out what I had won.
That's just too funny. I couldn't find your website readily, and I had to take the information on the bio from the L-Book site. So forgive me for not mentioning that you won an award.
Yeah, I managed to sneak it in.
I'm glad you did. I really am, because it was definitely a award winner.
Yeah. You're awesome. We love you, Jay.
Yeah, we love you. Come move to the States.
All right.
Okay, well, it's been fun. It's been a thrill for us to have Jay on. Jay, thank you again.
Thank you, too.
Mm-hmm. And Rev, you didn't giggle as much as I thought you would about the name of the drink. I guess because we didn't bring it up all that often.
No, that was done on purpose. It's purposely done. I try not to giggle. I don't know where I'm getting this, this reputation as a giggler. That's the only thing that really makes me giggle. So there you go.
No. Yeah, okay. And so this is going to wrap up the show. Remember, book giveaway. Get your answers in through email to Rev. You got the email site? Email Addie.
Yeah, it's cocktailhour.show@gmail.com.
Yay.
Yeah, don't post a comment on the website with the answer, because I'll delete it. Because, you don't want to give the answers away.
And you'll get bitch slapped. Just saying.
If I see you and I know that you're the one who posted a comment, then Andy's going to bitch slap you.
And in 2 weeks, we're going to be discussing After the Fall by Robin Summers. And Iron Rose Bleeding by Anne Azell. I don't know if I said her name right.
Azell or Azell. Maybe Azell. I don't know. Where is Charlie when we need her?
I know, right? Where is Charlie when you need her? All right, well, thanks everybody for listening. It's been fabulous.
Yay. Goodbye.
Goodbye.